evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Village of Holly Planning Commission meeting to order for February 26th, 2025. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could we have roll call, please?
Campbell. Christian.
Here.
Lacey. Here. Custola.
Here.
Cross.
Here.
Wallace. Here. Everly. Yes. Kinnaman.
Here.
Okonski.
Here. Had anyone heard from Campbell?
She fell yesterday, so she might be.
She fell, I had posted pictures, she racked her hands up pretty bad.
All righty, so hopefully things are going okay for her. So, moving on to the approval of tonight's agenda. Did everyone have a chance to look it over, and is there anything that needs to be amended, or can we approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
We have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, so moved to approval agenda. All right, looking for an approval of the minutes from December 18th, 2024.
I motion to approve minutes for December 18th, 2024.
I'll second.
Before we do roll call, Mr. Chair, we did get a email late from the last planning commission meeting in December where Galen was not excused for his absence. Once we got back in the office the next morning, we seen the email. I don't know if you want to amend the minutes to show that that would be an excused absence or not, but I just wanted to bring it up before we made that vote.
If you got an email stating he was going to not be here, I so move that we amend the minutes, if you want to make that in your motion.
Yes, I want the motion amended with Galen being excused.
And I second that motion.
We still have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved as amended. Can I get a volunteer to read our statement of purpose, please?
I'll read, but I want to, go ahead.
Okay. I can do it. The mission of the Holly Village government is to enhance our community's quality of life. Our organization strives for quality services, responsive action to citizen requests, and a cost-effective government. We promote citizen participation, proactive decision-making, and environmental quality. Most importantly, we shall always serve the citizens of Holly. The Village of Holly will be a prestigious historical village that is a green residential oasis from the city and the center of commerce and activity for the region.
Thank you, Angela. All right, moving on to item number 6 on our agenda, being public comments. Anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak before the commission on anything that is not on the agenda, you're more than welcome to do so. If there's anyone that comes forward, just state your name and address, and we'll be glad to hear from you. Seeing the rush to the microphone, we will move on to a public hearing. Can I have a motion to open public hearing, please?
I'll make the motion to open public hearing, 2024-003, consideration for site plan review for the property located at 15191 North Holly Road, ID number IH0127151016.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. I have a roll call, please.
Cross.
Yes.
Christian.
Yes.
Lacey.
Yes,
Custola.
Yes.
Wallace. Yes. Everly.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. All right, public hearing is now open. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to come forward regarding the public hearing on this matter, Please step forward and speak if you want to. If not, no one moving forward. Could we have a motion to close public hearing?
I motion to close the public hearing.
I will second.
And we have a motion seconded. Roll call again, please.
Lacy,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Cascola.
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. All right, moving on to old business. Discussion of capital improvement process. Have we gotten any further?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so I would like to update the commission. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, we did finalize some verbiage with the new village manager, the new administration, on where we were with the capital improvement process, what needs to be done. Most importantly, getting the contract signed for Rowe, more importantly, Alex, to continue the process and complete the project on a timeline that was provided to council back in December. So we are moving ahead. I can tell you that during our discussions, there may be some adjustments to the capital improvement plan that was what we've been working on. I think we're going to include some more tactful infrastructure. Alex in the meeting brought up, or maybe it wasn't Alex, maybe it was village manager, Mr. Price. A good way to look at a capital improvement plan is if you can take your municipality and flip it upside down and shake it, whatever doesn't fall should be in your capital improvement plan, which was a great analogy for me. It gave me a whole new understanding of what maybe a capital improvement should include. He also provided examples of Grand Havens. We're not quite to that level yet, but I would love to see us in the future to be maybe at that level. So I'm excited. It kind of gave this project a little bit more fresh air, new breath of life. And he has agreed with Rowe to execute the contract, and we're moving forward as of 4 o'clock this afternoon. So, and, you know, the new administration's been under an intense amount of pressure just because there's just, I feel, a lot of things that need to be addressed. And they are both handling it with all professionalism. And unfortunately, today at 4 o'clock was my turn to present the capital improvement plan. I know we were coming right down to the wire with the meeting tonight at 6, but the positive is that the contract's going to be signed. We're going to move forward. We're going to meet our timelines. And it will be very similar to the North Branch example that you've all seen in the past.
All right, with your kind of analogy of turn it upside down and shake it and see what falls out, I guess from that standpoint, does that mean you're looking at adding more items to it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Kind of going back in history, 5 years ago probably, we had a very extensive capital improvement plan. Along with that in our future, like, you know, moving forward for the master plan. And at that time, we were kind of advised, well, you know, if you're not looking and it's really addressing these things on the plan, you're really wasting your time by having them on the plan, because if you have 52 items and you know, you're never going to get to those 52 items.
Another way to look at it too is your kids come to you with a Christmas list, and the Christmas list is valued at $1,200, but the budget's set at $400, right? You're going to look at your prioritization and say, well, the first thing you got on your list is $1,300. Well, clearly it's not going to be that. Well, your second item is $200. So chances are that's probably going to be funded. You know, that was also brought up in the meeting this afternoon, which kind of gave us some content. Granted, there's going to be some things on there that are going to be wish list items, but I think that they're pertinent for
just is it just a thing to do, but it also opens up, and makes you one step closer to getting RRC, right?
Thank you.
Certification. So even though that list may be the long list of, Christmas list of everything, at least you have a plan in place and you're working towards it. So then that you can leverage that with other programs or grants or funding sources to then potentially pay for it, right? So that's the kind of idea, is not just to create a list, but use that list so that we could possibly use it for another opportunity through other funding sources, whether it's state funding or federal funding or some other grants that may be available. Other partnerships out there which, businesses or institutions want to fund and support, for tax purposes too. So, there's a reason behind that.
All right, I understand.
What certification did you say?
RRC, Redevelopment Ready Communities.
Oh, okay.
It's something that
Extra thing that, no.
Jeremy's been working on for almost 2 years now.
Almost 8. I
8?
started it with Katie Golden when she was
Yep.
the DDA director. Then we started with Nick, and really, we're getting closer. The website's been updated. We have a website. There's still a little bit of things that we have to work on, but the capital improvement plan was one of the big items that has really halted the process.
Okay. All right, thank you for that clarity. All right, anybody else have any other questions? Hearing no one speak up, moving on to new business, item number 9 on the agenda. First item on there is item A, 2024-003, consideration of a site plan review for the property located at 15191 North Holly Road, parcel ID IH 0127151016. Ro, would you like to move forward, or would anyone in the public like to speak?
Start, Chair, if you don't mind, just to give an overview. So what you have in front of you today is these proposed scooters drive-through coffee shop. This is a little bit of a different use than what we probably are used to in the village. You may have seen them, there's one in my hometown, here in Oakland County as well, where I have a scooter in my town as well. Very, very similar design and layout. But this one obviously is with infill development, just like the other one is too. So what we have is a few notes, is that the applicant has addressed some of the waste receptacle for the site. And so they're not going to put it in the parking yard. However, the enclosure is a CMU block. It requires a brick and decorative materials, and it has that. But we're looking to see if the planning commission can kind of determine if they need, you don't have a waste receptacle, you're doing trash pickup. Which one was it?
I believe they're doing trash pickup, is that correct?
Trash pickup, right?
You have amended the site plan that was presented to remove the dumpster enclosure?
Right, the dumpster enclosure, because there is one on site, on the overall campus, if you will, and they're just gonna be taking the trash to that site. So instead of having another trash enclosure on the, I'm confused right now.
Yeah, just,
I think they're keeping the dumpster enclosure, but they're using the tinted CMU versus a painted CMU.
Yes, that's
Which
what-
will give it so that if it does become compromised or chipped, the chipping will be tinted all the way through and will not require as much of a maintenance code violation or issues moving forward. So I would have to default back to you on the.
Yeah, so the issue here is, based on that review, it's up to you guys to determine if that's sufficient by the planning commission. I think it's a solid product, and it works. The applicant believes it's gonna work, so there's only a slight discrepancy what we would typically find on other sites. So they have a trash enclosure there on the site. Furthermore, on design standards, the window requirements, because being a smaller footprint building, some of the mechanical equipment they have in there, they prefer not to have a window so that you just don't see, you know, the nuts and bolts and guts in the back there making great coffee and delicious treats.
Is there a walk-up window for customer service, or just a drive-through?
It's just a drive-through, correct? Yep. The roof line is a flat roof. There are no dormers, as well as, like I mentioned, it's a drive-through. So, however, the facade is broken up into several materials. It's got, you know, windows, canopies, different materials throughout the building. So it's not just one material throughout. Obviously, including their commercial signage. There's a fabric canopy and light fixtures are proposed as well. And that the materials are party board siding, with a widely used, long-standing material that, you know, we've seen throughout the village. And the colors are black, earth tone, and neutral colors, with a few red accents, so they kind of have a little pop to it. And so it provides an overall architectural variety, given that it's a small building, a little bit different. So, with that being said, you know, your zoning ordinance is, you know, quite strict on some of these design materials, but I think we have to take into consideration the context of the building, that your village is pretty built out, and you have, you know, quite a wide range of uses. You have historic downtown, you have a commercial district, neighborhood commercial, you have industrial uses. And so I think the moral of the story here, the rub, is that your zoning ordinance has a lot of elements or requirements that are required of all those various uses, which I think is well intended. But I think the nature of this use, and the intensity of this use is quite different from other commercial buildings, because it's just a smaller footprint drive-through coffee shop. So I think there could be some exceptions that the planning commission maybe consider to waive in this case. You know, if there was an applicant that had, you know, provided a quality construction building and use, and, you know, furthered the tax base and didn't take up new land, but rather, you know, was an infill development project, I think this might be a project that the planning commission, I think, would find some merit in, to possibly looking at some waivers that, you know, they're not having all of the design requirements, but given just a small footprint, they're adding quite a bit of value in design quality.
Okay,
I don't mean to be a pain, I'm just looking for clarification. During I believe it was the Montgomery building, I remember there was a lot of back and forth about total glass frontage. And I thought at the time, at least this is how I interpreted what I was told, that we have zero discretion when it comes to that. Like, there was no, sorry. We didn't even have the ability to discuss it and say, well, we can waive this, we can waive that. It was like, nope, the way that's written, there is like zero room for interpretation.
Yep. When we discussed the glass
Yeah.
at the Montgomery location, that's why he went to zoning board of appeals twice, because we could not waive that in any way.
So, Chair, if you will, I'm just going to kind of answer on some of these comments. So, the planning commission does have the ability to waive things. It's in your zoning ordinance. The intent of the zoning ordinance is based upon a master plan. So, whenever you create a master plan, that's the vision document of the community, and, you know, sets the vision. And so the zoning ordinance is there to support it. And sometimes the zoning ordinance is deficient and or maybe unclear. So there's a couple options here. A planning commission can waive things if they feel it's necessary. They can, or they can force the applicant to meet those standards. Or they can require them to go in front of the zoning board of appeals for a variance. Those are kind of three options. The thing that's most important of those is that the planning commission is consistent in how they treat applicants. So if one comes in, an
So we mentioned, I'm sorry, guys, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So, yeah, so I think the thing is taking the context that this is kind of a different use. Yes, it's commercial, but it's a small footprint drive-through use. And there just isn't a lot of real estate to add in the dormers, the pitch roofs, all these other things. And so the applicant's brought to you, is a comment for building that, with some design elements to improve, the appearance of it. I think they're in the, I believe in the intent and in the spirit of trying to provide a quality product and use and design elements given what they're working with. Because, with talking about the other subject property you had mentioned, I mean, that's a very different building. That's a building that is, yes, zone commercial to provide those buildings, but the footprint and the size of it, although the use is for whatever purposes, but in the future, that could be a commercial or industrial or whatever type use, but it's just, it's a different, I guess, vehicle for commercial activity. It's kind of like comparing a moped bike with a full-size truck. And so, there's not a lot of space to put, all the things you would have in a pickup truck, on a moped. But in this case, you have a smaller building that's trying to put as much of those design elements in there. And so, what I mean to say is my critique is that your zoning standards for design elements are the same for everyone across the entire village. Well, you have a historic downtown, you have neighborhood commercial, you have commercial uses and industrial. So it's kind of a tough match to compare these things. So I think, if there was, as your consultant, I would say that this would be an applicant and a project that would maybe merit for potential waiver, and that's up to you guys to decide.
I understand like the common sense of it, it's just we were specifically told by the
I didn't-
city of Rowe that we had no say in that whatsoever.
Yeah, there were certain design items that were not negotiable. And I believe that the window percentage was one of those.
Right, and so you do have that, but that building is a different type of building. I know it's commercial, but we're talking about just a different type of building altogether, because it's all about not just what it is now, what it could be in the future. So that building could easily change hands in 5 to 10 years, and then what do you do with it, right? This is very specific, very customized. It could be another coffee shop, it could be another type of fast food oriented service, which is drive-through. And that is a new use that's occurring nationwide. This is not the only company that's doing that. It's not the only applicant. We've seen these in all sorts of communities all across Michigan, America, where they're having drive-through coffee shops, drive-through type things, just based on convenience.
Have we done a study, and I was on the commission when this started, so I'm coming a little bit late. Do we have a study of how it's gonna affect the other businesses that is losing half of the parking lot?
Well, they've met the parking requirements. They've met, that's not on the list. What's on the list is anything that would be considered outstanding and not meet your standards. So that's what's on that letter of listed items, and so that's what I was speaking to. Parking has been taken care of, all the other things, drive-through, capacity, parking, whatever it is, these are only things that are outstanding that the planning commission needs to decide on, or to either waive or require of the applicant, or provide more information.
Jimmy, you want to say something?
Yes, sir, thank you. Was there a light plan submitted?
Oh, sorry?
A light plan submitted? That typically is required, I believe.
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah.
For signage and exterior lighting?
All the lights on the, yeah.
I've seen it somewhere.
One second.
I might have missed it.
I didn't see a photometric evaluation,
I mean,
no.
There
But it seemed,
are existing lighting on the site.
right, but is not the lighting being affected?
Let me look through my files here.
I think where it said you're gonna lose at least one light pole, that's in that parking lot. And is there lighting on the side of the building?
Sorry, I'm looking through the plan sheets right now. As you can,
Now, I wasn't on that, on the commission, but I did speak to the individual that had the property on North Saginaw with the building, with the window situation. And we talk about applying things fairly. If we completely change our ordinances for this, it just seems like the last applicant's kind of getting a short end of the stick here. Because I think in that instance, he actually had it at 20%, and then we forced him to go to 30%. It was already built, wasn't it?
Well, we were told we didn't.
It was not built.
It was not built.
It was
Yeah,
part
we
of,
were told
it
we
was,
did not have
Right.
the option
Right.
to address or waive that standard.
Yeah.
Like on most of the other items here, the colors, facade, the roof line, dormer windows, it says it should. It should do such and such. It doesn't say shall do this. Whereas the windows definitely say there's no wiggle room.
Are we having a debate? I go with the long-term argument, the future use. Again, running a coffee shop, you've got to have the wall space for the infrastructure and for your cooking and your bathroom and all that stuff. You don't have any room for windows, just to have them. And it's such a very tiny, tiny building that it's only ever gonna get used for a tiny, tiny purpose in the future. Whereas, where this one's, we're talking about, it's right on the strip, it's on the corner, so it actually had a double setback, which was part of the problem, why they had, they had to meet that 30% on both sides. So, I would say, I would be okay with giving them an exemption because this is such a specific, small building use.
I agree with you, common sense wise, absolutely. I'm still stuck on the.
So what do we say to the last individual
Well,
that we shot down and had him pay $500 twice?
I know, we didn't even get to have a discussion about it because we were told, no, that cannot be done.
So who was the one that told us no?
It was the previous,
Oh, so it was the other planner at Rowe.
you know, and unfortunately, that,
I'm trying to think.
that is how it came down.
3 to 5 planning commission meetings I go to a week, I don't
Yeah.
ever recall ever
Yeah.
saying something like that.
You know,
no, it wasn't. It wasn't.
you know, it is how it came down. And I guess, as we're discussing, right, and everybody's thinking, all right, as far as the dumpster goes, I would like to see cut block there versus a stained all the way through block. Because that particular dumpster enclosure is gonna be seen by the public from all sides versus it being behind a building, type thing. The other idea, which I knew the glass was going to raise concerns, and it's not real clear on the drawings and/or presentation, but it looked like going around the building, there was the areas where you're putting up signage along the building, both front, back, and the other side. And I'm assuming those are just advertisement menu type of items. Is that correct?
Are you on the building itself or like the menu board?
I would ask you to go to the podium and state your name for the record and just keep.
And unfortunately, with the things being so small, it's hard to call out. But for instance, I'm looking on a sheet, as a pictorial sheet, which is marked A2.1 and A2.2. And even at that, there's items on there that says item like 25, 25, and 25. And you go down to 25 on the ledger, and it's so darn small, I can't read it from here right now.
Owner provided sign panels.
All right, sign panels?
Yeah, panels to be mounted by GC when provided in owner specified location using proper hardware and fasteners.
All right, would it be possible, I know it's possible, it's just a matter of, you know, whether it's beneficial, all right, to get over the glass issue, is making those non-functional windows that you're gonna be putting your advertising or your menus on.
Chair, I do believe there's a requirement that temporary advertising can only be so long on glass, though. Or window advertising is only allowed to be there for so long.
I believe this is a menu item, correct?
Me?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
you were speaking that way.
Yes, so the proposal was make the signs into windows, and then put advertising on the windows.
So there's an ordinance on glass,
How long the window can be covered essentially is.
yeah, how much window coverage
Yeah.
can be used for glass, yeah, for everybody.
That's in your signage ordinance, so.
Are you Jake Vaughn, address 6168 Foxfire Circle, Clarkston, Michigan. Are you suggesting that, to add more, I'm not quite following what you're getting at.
I'm just trying to think out of the boxes so that we're meeting our statutes, okay? And I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, our window right there that we have in this building, all right? If it was a dead window that had a wall behind it that, because you got your equipment up against it, and it was just outside, you saw a window and it's glass, we don't care what's behind it, we don't care if it's blocked across it.
Right.
You still have glass.
Yeah.
So the ordinance says 50%.
For advertising on the window.
So just a little background where we came from. The model, Scooter's Coffee, actually, they only have one window on that side. And knowing the window requirement, we were evaluating how do we get more windows on this side so we can meet the code. And we were able to add two. The problem is, when you, on that side, the way that it's set up is there's the bathroom that's in the back. Then we have all the electrical running through the walls for our freezers and refrigerators. So initially, looking at it, we were,
And there again,
it's
I'm
difficult to,
And-
we're trying already.
I think the proposal was that the chair, and correct me if I'm wrong, sir,
Yes.
instead of putting hardy board there, you just put a fake window.
Yeah,
So
and-
it doesn't go through, you're not gonna see in the bathroom, you're just gonna see the glass, have it tinted, and it's a piece of glass there instead of hardy board.
Outside the restroom maybe?
Or a tinted bathroom window.
Something we've done before? This is Abby, she's with, Abby Erler, she's with Scooters Corporate.
Abby Erler, Scooters Corporate, not from Michigan. But yeah, so in our restroom, putting a window there would be difficult because especially on that wall, we have the grab bars, which cannot go into glass. So even with rearranging the bathroom, we have our mop sink and our water heater. It's a very tight bathroom. So then our option is to fur out the wall and essentially then the window would go to nothing. But every square inch of these kiosks is meticulously engineered, as are all the walls. So then that puts us in a position of, even 5 inches extra in your bathroom. That can put us out of clearance for ADA. So we've added the second window from our typical prototype, and, trying to meet y'all in the middle and find a solution, because
What
I know
about-
Jake's really
what
excited about
about
coming.
raised windows that are not where grab bars are, that are up,
Like clear story windows?
horizontal windows,
Yeah. Clear
type
story
thing.
windows?
But I still don't know why, I mean, you're addressing it that we're gonna move it, the window would move it in. Like, for instance, on my house, I just have a normal wall this thick, out, an exterior wall. I have a panel of glass this big, and then there's space right behind it. So I don't understand why there would be a 5-inch kickout if it's just a flat panel, fake window.
Because I guess on that wall where the window would go, we would have the toilet grab bars.
But you're still got all your framing there.
Yeah, it doesn't,
We're not saying a window that actually gonna go
It's an
right through the
unusable
wall like a normal
Yeah.
window. We're saying a fake facade,
Yeah, we
glass
would
panel
just need
per
to
se.
frame out a wall so that we could drill into the studs of the wall to utilize the wall space.
right, your handrails are not going into the hardy board outside. So if they're not going into the hardy board, they shouldn't go into a fake window.
I agree, it's, you can buy windows that are really not structurally through a wall, It's like, basically, you can
Sure.
get glass panels, frame glass panels to put up there,
Well, at some point,
to an extent.
right, at some point though, I mean, if we have the ability to, if we have some discretion as to the window percentage. You know, do we have to, we're kind of just trying to achieve the letter of the law.
And I understand
not
that.
necessarily the intent.
Now, does this open us up to the prior applicant for suing us for all the money that he wasted on us?
No, this is a separate application, this is not, if someone else comes before you and says, I have another drive-through coffee shop, then you might want to, think a little bit about, what we're doing with that. But this is a little bit of a different,
So that wasn't my question, though. My question was, we just had somebody within the past couple of years come through and wanted a variance for windows. He lives in town here, and
We can-
everyone kept saying no, no, no. So he's gonna come up to us and say,
you can
well,
get sued for anything. I could get sued for throwing this pen.
so sure you could, but what are the
Right.
chances?
I,
we're gonna-
I'm not gonna be, I'm not, I
Don't
don't
throw the
practice
pen.
law, but I mean, the reality is you can be sued for anything, I don't know. I really couldn't answer that, that's just, I don't think it's likely, but then again, anything can happen.
I think also we have to look at the intent of the building and the use, and I
Yeah.
think Sherwin brought up a great point.
Yeah.
The building size and nature. The building that we're referencing at 610 North Saginaw, that building can be used for multiple different uses. You can put in 50 different things, where this building here, you're gonna be very limited to what you can put in. You're not really setting a precedence, except for this type of building. So if another outbuilding kiosk structure comes through to the planning commission and they don't meet that 30%, and you make them go, now I think that's where the precedent has been set. But I think that they're not apples to apples. I think they're a little bit different in total.
I agree with your mindset as far as building usage go by the structure of the building, all right? But by the size of the building, the shape of the building, an attorney could go in there and want an office.
You wouldn't have any place to park.
You got all the parking there, right there, that you're not gonna use for your drive-throughs. You got plenty of room for parking for a lawyer.
I wasn't reading that yet. On your plan, are those actually parking spaces?
For the employees, I think there's
So will the
6 or
parking
7.
space, so,
Oh, okay.
yeah, right here.
6 or 7?
And then there's
shared
another
parking
side
there.
too.
Yes, this is what we're looking at. Right here. I don't know if that is like what was there, but see, it's looking like there's like 15 spaces.
Yes, the chair.
Yeah, this is, I believe this is gonna be the building itself, correct?
Yeah.
Right here.
This is right here's the building, and then we'll have the drive-through. This,
This is seating and concrete and stuff like that, right?
you're correct.
If you look at page
Well, no
301,
indoor seating either. This is just an island, green island, so you drive around menu board,
But those aren't parking
transformer and all that.
spaces?
No, this is parking spaces, and I apologize, because we did have to add those to meet the parking requirement that you got, we're talking to
For a
earlier.
place with no interior?
So let's figure this out, let's
Right.
incorporate.
Yes.
I'm sure,
Hang on a minute,
how many communities have you had this?
Mr. Kinnaman,
wait a minute.
I need you to address the chair, and then the chair will address from there.
Okay,
Lori?
if they did add on a facade window, would that make it up to the 30%?
They could get there, yes.
Okay. I mean, it would be a quick and easy, right there's your 30%, add on a facade window on the outside, there's your 30%. There would be no going back to Montgomery's property on their 30%, and different things like that. And that would be just a facade window, but it would be still a window. Wouldn't it?
In my opinion, yes, but there again, I'm not a contractor either, so.
That's a question, Chair, that's a question for the applicant, if that's even possible. I'm
Right.
not sure, I'm not a building official, I'm a planner, so I think,
Right.
the question here is, we're just, the parking has been addressed, all the things, it's part of the overall campus, if you will, for the whole shopping district there. So, right, I mean, the only thing I think we're really talking about is the material of the dumpster enclosure, and then, is there any of those design elements that the planning commission deems are absolutely necessary or not? And like I said.
Right.
Even in the past, if a planning commission had provided waivers for everyone under any circumstance, but then felt it was inclined in the best purpose and in interest of the public and the zoning ordinance that to start correcting things to either require folks to go through another process or waiving things, that's the discretion of the planning commission. So
And-
if things were done incorrectly in the past, the planning commission can change course in its best interest and then therefore be consistent with that. So just because things were done 30 years ago one way or even 18 months ago one way, it's still left for the planning commission to make that decision.
I understand that, yes. You got a question?
So we had talked about in your Roth case, what in the future? I am, just like any other business, I'm sure there's successes and failures. Do they know what other, unfortunately, failed scooters have been used for? Is there anything that, if they went out of business, is there anything or any further regulations we'd have to put impose if somebody wanted to make it a burger joint, a drive-through burger joint, or a one-man lawyer's office? Would they have to go through any additional, or could they just move in, turn a sign on, and go to work?
Chair, so just to answer that, if a new use goes in, they have to go through the same process everyone else does. So they have to come to the planning department, go through the process, put an application, and determine what's next. And therefore, in your case, you guys don't have zoning permits, so everything would come before the PC for review. So, we can't play crystal ball and say what's gonna happen with, scooter site in 30 years. I mean,
If
that
it-
isn't really what's.
If the zoning allows for a lawyer's office to be in there,
Yeah,
or a doctor's office,
sure.
the building structure does not come back before the planning commission for the use. If it's zoned,
You guys have that, you guys do that here, okay. It doesn't, right, unless and they have to go through the building department for all the other approvals.
And I guess that was my point, if we make the exception for them, and it gets turned into something else, it's kind of how it is.
Well, it just becomes an existing nonconformity, and every community has tons of those. There's tons of existing nonconformities that happen, they're totally legal, and if something were to change, they could have to bring it into conformity at one point, or at least not expand the nonconformity, meaning that they would have to then remove windows to enlarge a nonconformity. That's how that would work.
does anybody else have any comments or items they'd like to talk, or?
I'm still just a little confused about all the parking spaces when nobody's going in. Can you explain how that happened?
I'll take a stab at it, but I might have my civil engineer be the expert. Because of the parking spaces we're gonna occupy, and it's not a separate parcel, the total calculation of the Holly Food Supermarket and the rest of those tenants in there have to allow so many parking spots, and
Yeah.
that,
They're not necessarily for us or for our use, they're to ensure the entire shopping center stays in compliance with the parking that they need.
So in reality, the parking spaces are required for the entire complex. It includes their area. The only thing that's really, as long as the spots are made by the space being taken up on the physical lot, as long as they have their handicap spots right by their building, that's still part of count.
yeah, on average, 4 or 5 employees will be parking there, so.
Okay.
That's the goal. That's what we're hoping.
Does anybody else have any other questions, or does anybody have,
So
Jim?
I'm still having trouble with the window ordinances. I know our consultant says that, and I think we have two differences of opinions here. We've been told previously by a consultant we can't do this, and now we're being told we can do this. And that troubles me a little bit, even though, I've looked at not all of them, I've looked at a number of other buildings and other communities via Street View or just the pictures they provide, and they all pretty much look the same. But it does concern me a little bit that we're just going to, just ignore an ordinance that Village Council has established and said, this is what you must follow, and then we're gonna say, nope, we don't have to follow it. So I think that could be problematic for me. What was the other thing I had? I think everything else was all right, though.
So Chair, just to clarify, I've said it's up to the planning commission for consideration. I didn't say you had to do anything. You guys have the choice to make what's in the best interest of this community. That is absolutely within your purview. And as, the word I'm looking for here,
I think everybody
I
understands
think you
that.
understand. So it's up to you guys. It's a different animal than all the other applicants. It's a different, slightly different context. If there was one, this could be it. And I think, you know, if you want to ask of the applicant to make adjustments, that's also within your purview as well. I'm just trying to present the building in its use in context of the community and how your zoning ordinance is written in such a way that you would have the same things apply to an industrial use or any use. And so it's a little challenging with your zoning ordinance. I know it's what it is. However, it's up to your community up to the planning commission to determine, you know, how that is exercised.
Right.
And I know there was someone else who no longer works for Rowe for a lot of reasons. But, you know,
We were misinformed or something.
well, and so were others.
So, with everything said, Angela,
I have one quick thing. What I'm hearing you say is that the best interest of the community, is it the best interest to have an empty parking lot there with nothing there? Or is it in the best interest of Holly to have businesses that are thriving and that are bringing people to Holly so that they will spend their money so that we will have more revenue? What is in the best interest of our community? Personally, I don't think windows being, a fake window or whatever being there is not, it doesn't matter. The best interest is having something there, having a business there instead of an empty parking lot.
Lori,
So,
you wanted to say something? Okay. Jim again?
Thank you, Chair. So why have ordinances then, if that's the case? So why are we not having council change these? So we have rules, there's a process to do it, and I don't think it's our job to,
but it is our
It-
job. It definitely is.
I don't believe so. We have two difference of opinions now, and he's already admitted he's not an attorney, so.
And neither are you, and neither was
That's,
the other.
that's
come on.
exactly correct. I agree.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I shouldn't have, I just had other questions.
Galen?
Chair, so sorry, go ahead.
I believe that's exactly why we're here. That, to my understanding, is we do have some leeway, some discretion. And if we, you know, being told that we do, then that's.
So, my question to that would be, what other things can we decide to change then? And everything we can just decide to change then?
Chair,
Right,
can I just
yes.
add something? I provided you
Higher?
services on planning and zoning. The question was, am I getting sued? That is of legal opinion. I'm not a practicing attorney. I'm not gonna be practicing law. I'm providing you planning and zoning services, and that's within my purview, and that's what I answered.
Yes, okay. Shirley?
I guess what I have to say to your point is that, just like a planning, you know, a 5-year plan is a living document, ordinances have to be living to a certain extent, because we've never had a little build a hut in the parking lot put before us before. This is a whole new thing. And so, you know, when you look at the use, the size, the fact that people aren't gonna be going in and out, that it's like situated, do they call it an outlot? I don't even think in this case it's more an in-lot. It's just something that no one ever envisioned when they wrote the ordinances. And so I think that's why we have, and I believe we do have the latitude, to make that argument that this is a new beast for us and we're doing the best that we can.
Then wouldn't the logical way to go would be change the ordinance to have a square footage ruling? That way we're not,
And that
we
would
have
be-
it listed that if you're under X number of feet, you have window variations. If you're over,
I
you
don't
don't.
disagree, but in the meantime, does everything go on hold until we change our window ordinance? Because that would be another year. And I don't think that's fair to business, and I don't think it's fair to the community. I think this is a great business, the location is good, we've got a whole trailer park full of young people that need a job, that that they could walk to. I think in terms of the community, the best thing to do is to prove this corporate, which means it's been proven in other communities besides us. I don't know why we gotta be the weirdos all the time. But I really do think that we should say, send it to the zoning people and say, look, we've had this come up, it may come again. You make the change in the zoning ordinance, that's not our responsibility.
Well.
That is our
just-
responsibility.
It is.
Oh, is it? Well, okay, then we need to
It gets
change
referred
the
to
zoning
us, yeah.
ordinance.
And
Okay. Jim, you had something, you had your,
I don't recall.
okay.
the concept, of having what you consider, like this scenario with the windows says 30%. As a general rule, that is what we are expecting, and we are looking at a scenario where it's really not possible to meet that. And that's when we have the ability to waive or make exceptions. And, I understand that. And so, if we look at that, we may have been misinformed the previous time as to how rigid that item was in the process, and that it actually is not that rigid, that we do have the flexibility to work with it, then, I agree, it's great to move ahead with it. It's wrapping our heads around that, shifting from what we were told to what we're now told and what we can do. And, making sure that we are doing what we are allowed to do. My thought, other than having a nicer looking dumpster area that meets our standards, I can let windows go if we have that permission to make that adjustment.
And for the most part, I agree with you. I want to see the business there. It's the differences of rigidity. It was my impression, we have ordinances, they're rigid. If they don't have if they're not solid,
But every building's not solid, everything's got a little tweak to it.
and some things we have the flexibility, the ordinances spell out, we can change. Some of them say shall. And that's my difficulty.
So I think that we've beat the horse
Yeah.
pretty good.
I think this is a great test case for us to, as much as I appreciate and I would like to enforce the 30%, I've been in the corporate world. They design these buildings, they spend millions of dollars designing it, they say it can't be done. Pretty good chance it can't be done. And we don't want to have some fake window or something that's just gonna look, not something we'd be proud of in a year or 2 years. So if we take this opportunity to allow them to move forward, but also take the further step to adjust the ordinance so we're not in this situation again. Because if anybody has another tiny building or something they want to do, more than likely in today's day and age, it's going to be corporate sponsored or corporate backed or franchise, going to have the same issue. And if we're allowed, by our guy, Paul, to give a variance, and it brings Holly in, because the other choices are two choices. Excuse my language, make a new, business owner not real happy about coming to Holly, or lose it completely. If it's already approved for the parking lot, and it's gonna help it go faster, let's do the right thing and adjust our shortcomings down the road, because when that ordinance was put in place, I'm sure nobody thought about a little tiny building.
With all that said, again, I think we've beat the horse quite a bit. We can entertain a motion.
Question.
Yes, if you have a question, applicant.
About the dumpster, can we make that kind of correction to the dumpster?
More specific?
To to meet our standards with the type of block that we require?
I'm not sure, do you have a minute?
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you come up, state your name and address, please?
Good evening. John Benchorn, 10286 West Bath Road, Woodhull Township, Michigan. I'm the civil engineer for the project, and to your question, yes, certainly any brick style that you require is able to be used here. The reason that we ended up choosing to submit this type of brick, certainly the easiest type of dumpster enclosure to build is a standard CMU, and you paint the outside and it looks great on day one. And the concern raised from Alex and Jeremy as we kind of work through this process with them is, well, yeah, sure, but, you know, snowplows come through and, you know, kids are playing tennis in the parking lot or what have you. And inevitably that paint will flick off even just over time. What would you, you know, consider a dyed brick, which is what we have submitted. And so that brick holds the color consistently. If it is chipped, the inside of the brick is, you know, essentially dyed the same color. And so, yes, if you were to get out of your car and inspect it, you would see the chip. If you were driving by happily enjoying your coffee, you wouldn't. Right? So that's what we've submitted. And if so, we feel that's a quality product, and we feel that it would fit the context and kind of the intent of the ordinance. Certainly, if there's a need to meet the precise ordinance here, that is something we are able to do.
So is it more of a brick or a block?
It's a block.
It's regular cinder block,
It's
but
regular
it's
cinder block.
dyed all the way through. is
It's
what he
dyed
said.
all the way through. Yep. So it's a color consistent cinder block. That's correct.
My desire is to have a cut stone type cinder block. The face is like a cut block, you know, is my.
More decorative, less industrial.
Right, it doesn't have to be painted, it doesn't have to be anything, it's just its natural finish. And I believe we require that, we don't allow that along any major thoroughfares in town. And this being, that side being North Holly Road, you're still gonna be visual from that main corridor. And even though it's not in the front of the building, it's still gonna be visible.
It's in the front yard of every other business
Right.
up there.
Yep.
Yeah,
We did our best.
yeah.
And then in regards to, the comment made as far as, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be argumentative or anything like that, but as far as the corporates being designed and they put these all over, all right, corporate doesn't run our community. We run our community.
I can totally agree.
You know, so I don't care if there's a gazillion of them around here, you know, we still have to follow our guidelines. But it's still up to the members of the commission how they want to make a motion and vote, and that's why we have a body of 9 members.
Chair, may I add, this is also special land use, because the nature of it is a drive-through, so we have to approve the special land use, as well as whatever, motions you want to make about the site, and the application as a whole.
So is that a separate motion?
Yes, absolutely. You have a special land use and then you have the site plan. So,
Where does it say special land use on our agenda?
well, it's in the letter, but this is a special land use because it's a drive-through.
Special meeting for a site plan review.
And if it's special land use, it would have to be a public hearing regarding that also.
Did you do it already?
Pardon me?
Did you do it already? Earlier on?
They withdrew last time.
Why is it a special land use? It's commercial.
Alex said the reason we have a special land use is it's a drive-through.
Oh, drive-through's not just commercial? What's our ordinance say about drive-through? What are these people gonna run out of here?
No, they met those standards. There's all, that's not in the letter. The drive-through component is has been checked off from our review. There's
Okay.
no concerns.
From the
on that.
requirements for the stacking and things like that.
But for the special land use, do we have did they come before you, Councilman? They postponed. So,
So without special land use and a public hearing regarding special land use, we can't even review the site plan for this, for that use until that's been approved.
Well, you can, so you can do a couple of things here. It's always
I know we
interesting,
could make
yeah.
contingencies and
So,
all
well, not
that.
contingencies, no. So it's two routes. So typically, most communities will first, they'll have a public hearing for a special land use and say, yes, that land use can go there. And then have another meeting for the site plan. Sometimes those happen at the same meeting. In this case, you can, I would think you can do a couple things as your consultant, just so, and the staff, please jump in and how you guys have done it here, but you can approve the site plan or make a motion or whatever it is, but then require that it comes back before you to get special land use approval. So a lot of communities like to do special land use and then say, we're gonna review the site, we're gonna review the site plan. To me, it's the other way around, so we approve the site plan, because then you know what's going on there, and then you can approve the special land use. So it's either or, there is no legal requirement of either one. As long as you do both, that is what's required. With the special land use, you would have to just do that notice, 15 days for the public hearing, which obviously would not be taking place today, because there wasn't one. So that would be the next meeting, whether it's a special meeting or the next scheduled meeting.
Question.
Mr. Kinnaman.
When this property came before us almost 2 years ago, was that maybe the special land use?
I know, that's what I was trying to think here with Alex, and Alex wasn't here with us at that point.
Because we voted on something
Yeah.
that was possibility stuff.
It'd be in your minutes then. You may have approved the special land use at that time, it's possible. You can say yes to a special land use and then look at the plan. Because you could approve the special land use, but then deny the plan, it's very possible. I mean, that's happened many times, so I would say,
Plans were postponed.
Yeah,
The
because
plans
they
are
had to
postponed.
hold off at one time.
They withdrew their,
Yes.
They did, yes,
Yes.
but remember
But
when,
we had 2 meetings, and so I know that the special land use was looked at. Right now, I
Yeah.
can't remember, but I know that that was.
do you remember when the Holly Foods people, the owner of the entire complex came?
Yes.
About 2 years ago and brought prototype something in that location.
I think you're right with that, Richard.
Yes.
And the parking stuff, and we needed to do an approval at that point of
Right.
something. And I think that was
The special land use,
the special land use
yes. I'm pretty
permission.
sure that that was,
because they had a white box.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
I think you're
I
right on
think,
that.
I think
you're
we
It was
did
Anmar.
that.
Yep.
I think
Because we
that's
kept asking
all we
what was
did
gonna
at
be,
that
and they
point.
didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Because we didn't know what
Yeah, they didn't.
exactly, at the time, they were kind of pitching
Right.
a little bit of
Right.
stuff. Yeah, but there was a.
Okay.
land use one, yeah.
We'll assume.
There'd be a record of that, correct?
there would be a record of that, so that would,
So the point is.
the applicant would have to then wait for administrative to say yea or nay whether it had taken place or not, before they could react to whatever the commission does regarding the site plans. If it had not been done,
They have to come
the site plan still can be voted on tonight, and then they'd have to come back before us regarding special land use.
That seems the most logical, especially if we have a, a mechanism to inform them, either yes, there was a special meeting and everything.
Oh, that'd be the administrative,
Or no.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that seems the most logical way to keep the ball rolling. We do our due diligence, we let them go, and if they're good, they don't need to come up here again for the 2.5 years or whatever it is. And if not, well, we still have, a little bit more to do, and they come up here and we do a special meeting.
Okay, moving forward.
Last, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Light plan. Can that be something that we just request that is submitted and accepted and by staff?
The light plan, it seems to me, when I looked through there, was not submitted. I know one light structure was removed for where the building's going to be going. And I would highly suspect that back in the day, there was probably no photometric view or site plan done for the original complex back then. I know they have upgraded to LED lights, which are far brighter than what the originals were. So in that regard, the commission could make that part of their motion, whether that's going to be a requirement and/or a waiving because of existing facility. My opinion.
The only thing to that is, would now be the time to have that survey done if there are additions and subtractions to be done?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, should be done. Okay.
So, I can make a motion, but I want to be clarified of what I'm putting in it as we go here. We are, with a modification of the dumpster blocking, submission of a light plan to administration, and special land use acknowledgement or,
Requirement is met.
yeah, requirements met for special land use.
But we also, I believe, have to decide
On the glass,
on the glass.
whether you want to recommend a variance or waiver, or whether you want to recommend everything else is okay, but for that portion to go to variance, that's all up to what everybody's vote is.
I'm willing to put it in as a waiver on the glass.
That's whatever motion you want to.
Does it feel like consensus on that?
I'm torn on it. I see all sides, but I think in this case, not to get bogged down in minutia and stuff. We know it's a small building, everybody's acknowledged. It's, we didn't think about the 30% this type of building. I wholly acknowledge the chairs, where it's at. I agree, corporate does not dictate what goes on in Holly. But we also have to work with them.
Can I add one note to that? The beauty of our small kiosk is that it can fit in these little pieces of land in which may be underutilized. The rough part is that every tiny square inch inside of these kiosks is utilized. Maybe Jake will let you in and see the inside when it's built. I understand that time is money. I mostly am to Jake just advisory, having been through many planning cycles in many cities. If it were as easy as just meeting the 30%, I'd tell him to meet it. I'd say, just get it, meet the ordinance, you're done, no going back and forth. It is unfortunately very difficult. We did add the one. It's gonna cause some difficulties with our engineers to work everything around. And so really that third window to get us to that 30% wasn't added because it's that difficult. So that's really kind of the only thing I wanted to say. I don't have any stock in Hardy Board. I really don't care. But it just does pose a lot of operational issues to start getting rid of our very valuable wall space and throwing things in. So that was my only last comment.
Okay, we're ready then? I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for the property located at 15191 North Holly Road, ID number IH0127151016, with the following conditions. A waiver of the glass requirement to 30%, a change in the dumpster block to meet our code, submission of a lighting plan to administration, and meeting the requirements of the special land use.
I'll second that.
Something I'm missing?
Would it be down to 20%?
That they don't meet our 30%. Yes.
Regarding the dumpster material, to meet code is brick or cut stone. What other materials can they use besides cut stone and brick? I believe that's it.
Decorative block or decorative?
Yeah, decorative
Yes,
block.
paint.
Brick glass panels or with brick finish. It's on the cover page of the January 24th letter,
It's right in.
section 157036, waste receptacles.
Okay. I just wanted to make it so they, they do have some,
You have a little leeway there, but couple of options.
so. All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, so we had a motion, we had a second. Roll call, please.
Cascola,
No.
Lacy,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Okonski.
No. Motion passed. Okay. Thank you. Sorry for all the headaches.
No, that's,
Thank you.
They do have to come back here.
Regarding the site plan, yes.
Only if the special land use hasn't gone through, we'll have to come back next month for that. But I was assuming that would be a slam.
All right. Next item on new business is election of officers. So we need to elect a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary.
Nominate Mr. Okonski.
Easy said there.
As I say in many years, I would love for someone else to take the opportunity and chair. So if anybody would like to throw their hat in the ring, now would be the time.
I like the way you run a meeting.
I did it once and it was scary.
I said next to him, he was scared.
All right,
Second.
I guess we're looking at chair first. Everybody that would like Gary Okonski to be the chair for the coming year, please take roll call.
Richard, did you second?
Yes.
Thank you. Kinnaman,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Cascola,
Yes.
Lacy,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Okonski.
Sure. All right, moving on to, I guess, vice chair. Currently, Mr. Kinman is vice chair. If anybody, again, would like to throw their hat in the ring, opportunities?
I think that's gonna be an amazing choice for vice chair.
So we haven't had a first yet.
I'll make a motion for her to be vice chair.
And Angela second, so roll call for Mr. Richard Kinman to be vice chair.
Cross,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Lacy,
Yes.
Cascola,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. Secretary. Currently, I believe, yes, Lori is. So,
I think she's doing a great job.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion for Lori Lacy to be secretary. Roll call, please.
Lacy. Yes. Everly.
Yes.
Christian.
Yes.
Wallace.
Yes.
Cross.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Cascola.
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. All right, that was the least painless, well, not really, but. Okay, moving on to new business, item C, Chief Watson's annual report for 2024.
Thank you, Chair. Just as every year, we prepare this document to the Planning Commission and to the council. Just kind of recaps all the cases that this commission had seen in the year previous. As you can see, we listed each month. We have only had cases in March, September, and October, and along with December. The other ones, we did meet for some capital improvement discussion. Other months, we were canceled due to lack of business. I would be happy to answer any questions on the report, but I believe it was pretty self-explanatory.
Anybody have any questions for Chief Watson? Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you, sir.
We don't need to approve that, or,
No, and I believe it's already, because we're February, I believe it was already sent to council in January,
Okay.
so.
All right, moving on to item number 10, training. Seeing nothing listed, I don't think there was anything.
So I do want to follow up, Mr. Council, you did send us an email, and I apologize, I don't know if it was November or December, asking about training funds for the planning commission. Obviously, that question didn't get answered or reply to that email because we were in the transition of administration. Previous administration wasn't real big on providing you guys with outside trainings other than what Roe would do here in-house or some virtual trainings that I would provide on occasion. I am working with a new administration for the 2025 budget to have training line items for all boards and commissions. I think especially for some of our newer members, if you first time on a board or commission and you don't really know Robert's rules or even how to conduct business, I think that it's highly recommended. So I am advocating for all boards and commissions to get a certain amount of line item money for specifically training and being able to provide that to you either through Roe or you guys stepping outside the box and going to trainings in other municipalities or businesses like Roe that offer them. But I don't have that answer for you today. So I'm working diligently to get that approved. I know new administration has a lot on their plate, but I think if we could just set aside a few $100 to be able to send board of commissioners to training, I think it would benefit not only the applicants and community members, but you as individuals as commissioners. So I just kind of wanted to follow up with your email because I felt guilty, but I couldn't get an answer from the previous administration. And the new administration, there's not anything in there for this year, but we are entertaining the fact for next fiscal year to somehow work some magic and find a little extra money for these boards and commissions to have some training.
Thank you.
Chair, if I may add, there's a lot of great resources right now on the Michigan Association of Planning website. A lot of it's virtual too, so that definitely cuts time, cost, all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of training coming up that started off this month, but mostly in March into April. So I believe there's probably about 8 or 9 various trainings right now, online, virtual, that you can attend, and the fees aren't substantial. So if you guys like, they're available, and some of them actually are local, in Ann Arbor, Frankenmuth, so they're on this side of the state, if you will, not necessarily local, but they're this part of Michigan, so.
I
it's worth-
believe even the virtual ones had a cost to them.
They do, right,
Yes.
but they're much more, they're obviously lower cost because you're not at the facility or traveling, so it's worthwhile to look into if you guys are interested, but there's a lot here in the spring.
Right, I believe that the list that was sent to us had virtual listings on it also. So that was my reason for the question that I sent forth, just from the standpoint of, all right, the commissioners and everybody already volunteer their time and effort and to spend $100 or more to go to a training to benefit the village and get a paycheck for $65, it doesn't make a lot of sense, other than other personal desire.
And I understand that. I think I'm gonna work a little bit with Alex and the administration, get an average of what it would cost to attend a couple trainings, times the 9 members, and propose that as a budget line item. And it is in the works, but unfortunately, I can't confirm that until, budget meetings, which will be starting next month, so.
I understand.
And
Thank
then
you.
also, we're gonna be, it hasn't been sent out yet or announced, but we will be doing our continuing education series at Row up in Flint, in May 6th. We're gonna talk about Robert Rules of Order, we're gonna talk about, House Bill 5557, about housing requirements for the master plan, and we're also having, a guest speaker from, the Michigan Department of Agricultural and Natural Resources, or, talk about, Right to Farm Act. It's, you know, maybe not necessarily in the village, but across Michigan, there's a lot of discussion about Right to Farm Act and how that works, and its application. So there's a guest speaker coming in from the state to speak on that.
And when is that again?
And
I
you thought in May?
believe, as of my Monday staff meeting, I think it was May 6th. I have not sent out that out, so you guys will get a flyer that
So
comes out.
that act's gonna allow us to turn the rest of our yards into gardens?
No.
Yes. And I hope you do.
And horses and everything else you wanna do, chickens. With the prices now, you probably want to. So, yeah, that's coming up too, and that's, I think, yeah, free, so,
Thank you.
yep.
All right, moving on to reports. ZBA, DDA, what we got?
ZBA has not met. The ZBA has not met.
All right. DDA,
Since we haven't met since December, they, of course, they did have their meetings, one January 13th, another February 10th. They have been going, talking updates about the depot. And then this last month, or this month, I should say, this last meeting,
can you speak into your microphone a little more? Thank you.
they still have some different controversies against the downtown parking, which had gone to the council. And of course, the council is having them relook at everything and keep checking on that and coming up with still a new updated plan. They did hire an interim DDA director, which was Tarina Greenway. And they're just saying that the wolf movers are for the update on the depot. And they're gonna be starting that supposedly in April.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you.
Can I add to the DDA?
Sure.
Please do.
March 17th. Is it the 17th?
St. Patrick's Day.
I'm thinking that it's that day. The DDA will be interviewing 4 candidates. I
Okay.
think it's the 17th.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, also, I forgot to say this, they have the Battle Alley Swing, which is open to the public. It starts April until November, and it's every, second Friday of the month from 7 till 9. And, it's $5 for, admission for dancing in the lessons. And that sounds really kind of neat. Or if you want to just go down and watch them swing dance, that'd be great too.
And you said that was in Battle Alley?
Yes,
Free to watch.
yes, it's free to watch.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Free to watch and free to dance.
Council, now.
Yes, sir.
I turn this way.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I guess the big one is we do have a new village manager who's here with us today. who's back here. Mr. Price is our new village manager, and I've worked with him a little bit. He's a very knowledgeable person, he listens well, and he acts well. He says he's gonna do something, it gets done, and he figures stuff out and comes up with new solutions, so I think Holly's very, very lucky to have him. In the council here, we're doing a water rate survey. We are also potentially gonna have some new stuff coming to Planning Commission with Airbnb type stuff. I know we worked on it not long ago. Our president, Brandon, has proposed some changes and looking at how that affects everything. So I think that's good to stay proactive, have a proactive manager and a proactive president here. So there may be other ordinances too that we'll be looking at and hopefully updating.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Parks Commission, I believe, weren't they,
I think they had their first meeting,
Yeah, January, they have one.
but do we have a liaison? I don't believe we have a liaison.
I don't think we do, and who is in charge of that now? Do you know?
In charge of the parks. Yeah, it's Joe.
Well, I mean, from years ago, it used to be Tony, that,
Well, that's township.
that's township, okay, that's what I was thinking of, okay. All right. Commissioner and staff comments. Before we go to that, I guess I would like, recommendations and/or buy-in to where we look at, having Roe give us a, submittal of size and use-wise glass usage variances, where we could possibly come across and say, okay, when we're below this many square foot of a building, that we can then reduce the percentage of glass in that building because of it basically becoming unfeasible because of wall structure and things of that nature. Other than just always relying on the commission to be caught between, well, yeah, we'll let this one get by and that one not get by. Because I do remember, like everyone else did, the fight we went through with the other site plan. It was very uncomfortable at that time. Granted, I know it wasn't you, Alex. However, that's what was presented to the public. So versus
Mr.
going,
Chair, I will take your request to administration and ask for that. However, as you know, this commission cannot
I know that, that's,
require Alex to do work
Right.
that would require payment. So I will take that to administration for that request. But in my staff comments, I will segue off of that a little bit more.
okay, thank you. All right, moving on to commissioner and staff comments. Let's start down here, Angela. Sharon?
No, I got a list. I missed y'all. We have these nice council chambers. Is there any way that we could get updated maps? So we could have like a nice zoning map and maybe a map that showed the township, then the village within the township, so that this would all make sense to people.
Yeah.
Just a simple request. And I want to say thank you for taking the capital improvement plan seriously. The way it was described to me is anything that we do that is a significant investment and is going to change the complexion of the community should come before the planning commission. So I appreciate that, and also having plans on the shelf. Kinnaman, you've heard me rail about this in village council meetings, and it's part of that being ready. I know there was a hue and cry on Facebook because, the township, is looking at plans to spend $2 to $5 million down the road for a community center. That's not what they're doing. They're planning. They're putting the money together, the plans together, and so when the opportunity arises, we're ready. And I don't need to tell you guys how badly that has been lacking in this community. I watched after the first recession in 2008, and Obama was elected, and it rained money, and we didn't have anything ready. And then when the ARPA funds came through and we had another chance to make investments in Holly, we had nothing ready. So I'm saying, as a planning commissioner, as a citizen, I appreciate a serious investment in planning, because what we do today is gonna pay off in the future. And if we don't do anything, the future is gonna be the same as what it is today. So thank you for that. And then again, the moratorium on short-term rentals, being at the council meeting, and the chief was talking about the lack of parking downtown. One of the things that rang out to me was that there are 30 rentals, long-term rentals, just in the historic downtown area. Well, now you're talking 30 cars, 45
Plus,
cars,
yeah.
just for the rentals. Multiply that by the post office, where they have that nice parking lot, but the postal people park in our municipal parking lot so they can maneuver their trucks. So I think it's a good thing to really seriously think about a moratorium, not only about the neighborhoods, but that our downtown parking just really can't take it anymore without some serious changes. And other than that, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
No comments.
Mr. Kinley?
Nothing today.
Lori?
I have nothing to say. Thank you.
Galen?
I personally would just like to thank Alex for being here and taking his time for this. Your expertise, I use it, it's a nice guiding light for, it's not to make any comparisons, but there's a lot more substance to what you bring to the table than what I've seen in the past. And I apologize for bringing up the glass.
Jim?
Thank you, sir. I think it was Ms. Everett that brought up the maps. So one thing that Mr. Price has implemented is this TV behind us actually works. Come and find out. And I think there's a hookup over by staff somewhere. So if the capability exists, we could put potentially stuff up there without inquiring costs to that. So I think that's a good idea. Also, it did get a little heated today, so I don't mean any disrespect to Ms. Wallace or Mr., I'm not gonna say your last name, Mr. Alex. So, I think we're all here to make Holly great, so I'm glad we can do that. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Chair, can I ask one comment, just based on the comment about moratoriums? The playing law thing, you can't put a moratorium in place right now. You have an existing zoning ordinance. If you did not have a zoning ordinance on that subject area, whatever it may be, then you could put pause, moratorium, hatch it out, come up with an ordinance. You have one in place. So if you do put a moratorium there, you could get challenged on that moratorium. So just letting you guys know, it's a challenge. Yeah, you have a parking challenge, which is a good thing, means it's popular. And then, you have short terms, it's obviously a hot thing, and you have administration now that has experience, and I know that's something that everyone across the state's looking at. You're not the only ones. So these are just the things that, like I said, we never thought solar would be coming around in Michigan, right? We have issues, I do, in other communities with this. Or, small kiosk uses like we saw today. So, the word I was looking for earlier is you're stewards of the community, right? You have to make the best judgment. What they decided upon 30 years ago doesn't mean it's set in stone that you have to continue that in perpetuity forever, that whatever they decide. It's your decision to make decisions. You've been put in this position to make those decisions. So as stewards, you just have to manage the community, which in the best interest and make those decisions, because, things change. They will continually change. And so that's part of the responsibility, not just for yourselves or and those predecessors going forward, how they're gonna handle it.
Chief?
I do have a couple comments. Thank you for that, Chair. I would like to address Mr. Cross's question on ordinances. Our ordinances, as we know, are very incomplete. And part of this capital improvement plan is why I've been pushing so hard for the last year, is to get us compliant with the RRC, which is opening up, as I appreciate the Chair Okonski, I know you and I worked together for many years. With this tool in our toolbox, to have the RRC compliant, it opens of our ordinances, rewriting some of our ordinances, paying Alex, because I work in the ordinances almost daily, and it's extremely frustrating when we come across these types of situations. So with the implementation of this capital improvement plan, we're hoping that it'll help us to be one step closer to be RRC compliant. And I know, I feel like a broken record because I feel like I've been saying that for at least 6 years, well before COVID. And it is an extreme goal of mine to be RRC compliant before either I die or I leave here. I think this community deserves that. I know Mr. Council Koskela did introduce, but I would like to formally introduce Mr. Tim Price for those of you who haven't met him. It's been a blessing for me and administration to have fresh air in the office with ideas and motivation. So I thank him personally, and I think if you all take the time to get to know him, you will also have that same impression. So thank you, Mr. Price, for coming to our community and taking the time to step in tonight. With that, a little segue with that, RRC will also help us with the price of our master plan. So as I've been talking to administration, we're right there. In the next year, we're gonna have to start looking at that master plan. Talking with Alex today, we do need to update our master plan before we codify our ordinances, because that's just the way that things are usually done in the planning world. So with that, this master plan, or this capital improvement plan is extremely important. I do have one last final comment. I know over the last couple of weeks, there's been some scuttlebutt about the marijuana facility in town. I do want to give some clarity. Staff has been meeting with the client for the last 10 days, either verbally or on Zoom meetings. And the big complaint was that the water table is so high on that site that they were unable to get an underground storage system and have that drain. Finally, the owners of that property were able to facilitate an agreement with Dollar General, and they are now working on tying into the county drain there, which will alleviate all the water retention issues that were with that site. So, they've already got a lot of money invested in that site. They have footings in the ground. The last email that we had yesterday, they have full intents of moving forward. Right now, they're submitting plans to the county to tie into that county drain. That permit was already pulled in 2018, so it's really, the plans haven't changed, they're just renewing that permit. So we're hoping, the next planning commission meeting we have, I have a better update, or we're seeing materials drop. But the last email I got from them is they are patiently waiting to have materials delivered to that site with just administration giving them the green light. So
And who is them these days? There's been so many different owners. Who is them?
I believe Stash.
Say it again?
Stash.
Stash.
STASH, I believe it is. Yes.
Okay.
And, yeah, so I just want to make sure this board, this commission does deal with a lot of that new development. So I wanted to make sure that administration is being transparent on the communications that we've been having with these developers. I know there's some mixed emotions too on marijuana and kids, and I have teenagers, and I agree with all that, but it is also tax dollars on a vacant parcel, so yeah, I don't know, it's double-edged sword, but.
How is everything going along for the gas station on the corner?
Yep, so great question. I can also update you on that. With the bitter cold January, they were paused. They did bring in furnaces to thaw out the ground because they didn't have a cement floor in there. It took them 6 days to get the temperature just right in the sand to be able to pour. The cement floor is in. As you can see, they're glazing the windows now. I would assume that as soon as the frost falls off, they are going to start pouring concrete and asphalt, getting the pumps in. I know the owner's patiently waiting. He's losing business too. That's a prime corner. But last winter, we were able to build. This winter, the building industry's been really slow.
Okay, and also, have you heard anything, anybody interested in Rite Aid?
I have fielded a few phone calls, but I have not had any plans submitted.
regarding Stash and their agreement with Dollar General to, I'm assuming, trench through the property
It's an easement.
as an easement, okay? And then the documentation would be then submitted to the village of the agreement?
Yes, and through Row, and some of those negotiations have already taken place.
Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure we have things documented so that, you know, everything knows which direction it went. Go ahead.
Are there any more information about when they are going to start to do right there at Branch Hall and North Holly for the widening of the road?
So that will take place when they start to do the concrete work and the curbing at that gas station.
Okay.
So, right now, they can, lay, the asphalt plants aren't open, and the cost of concrete with the additive,
I mean, is it going to be this year? Because I
I
know
would
that they were
anticipate,
going to be
yes.
working on widening the road this last year, but then it got,
My understanding is for them to attain C of O, that turn lane is required.
All right, another question completely out of realm as far as my understanding, but who does the village contact regarding railroad crossings with the roads and pavement being very, you know, uneven to cross the railroad tracks?
I don't know if I have the answer for that. I will research it, and I'll try to get you that answer back either at the next commission or privately.
Because I know there have been going downhill for the last few years, along with a lot of our pavement anyhow, but you, if,
Particular crossing?
well, I know on Rosetta, it's extremely bad. I watch pickup trucks with things in the back of their pickup truck go across there at a very slow rate, and the whole truck just jostles, and I've seen things fall out of the trucks because of it.
I
So
would assume if it's within the track right away, it would be the railroad, but that's just my assumption.
that would be my guess also, but I guess the real question is, how do we notify them that there's a need?
Sure. I can look into that, and I can probably give you a response at the next meeting, if not sooner.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything else. Carol, have you been really quiet? Do you want to say anything?
Thank you.
Mr. Price?
So I look forward to working with everyone, thank you. Just as a little follow-up, I've been kind of reading through the ordinance as well as we've been talking, and I know that we're gonna have more conversations about this, but I would concur with Alex as far as reading it. It says, in the site plan approval, the village shall adhere to sound plan principles, yet allow for design flexibility in the administration of the following standards. And then later on, within that same, as it's referencing, it talks about, in reference to the village design standards. So I think there is flexibility within there,
Okay,
and as I interpret it.
okay. Thank you. All right. No one here in the public, so I can't ask them any public comments at the end. So with all that said, we are adjourned. Kill me. You killed me. You didn't say anything. I gave you all the opportunity to speak up. Throw your hand.
I didn't mean to throw my hat. It was, if you really were ready to step back, I would take this.
I wanted you to throw your hat in the ring is what I wanted.
You what? You throw your hat on as well. Well, then you needed to say it that way. I couldn't.
So how are you, Miss Lori?
sweetheart, sweet. Well, yeah, I like that. One thing to buy. Sorry. It shows well.
It was kind of, I could have said, maybe it's time to just read it.
Side of here. Yeah, that way you can
Maybe I can, redig?
And always come back to these guys again, come back to another meeting and say, you know what? Maybe it's time for a change. And that's fine. Yo,
We may go that way.
You know, everybody always says, like, everybody's got access to ours, you know, so there's one of those blocks. It is a little bit bad.
You can see up there, you can wow.
in some respects, I'm kind of glad that I'm on council, you know,
Well, I can tell you.
except the whole parks matter, the township,
What about the
you know. Has not, well, they had a gal working, Amy, child, that poor girl for, they treated her like,
There is an email.
after the election,
Oh, heck, I go right down there, I don't.
4 of the 5 candidates did not get sworn in until,
Yeah, I didn't know which one.
so that means that the township board gets to
Things when they, driving around, they see that.
and we've only 3
Oh, I know.
totally new people, and then one that was out of those 4.
Twenty-some years ago.
Or the people that changes since.
Close there too. They probably heard about this question.
All right. Well, thank
Well,
you.
she's on the park for the village. Yeah,
I haven't seen him in a couple of years.
Yeah,
but,
since,
Yeah.
yeah, since the.
we're kind of hoping she takes the chair for that. Cause
Yeah, it was,
there's,
before
the
and
way
then
they
that night.
conduct themselves just needs
Yeah.
cleaned up.
Oh, I know, I know the other day I went by and I go, oh, I'm not gonna see this.
Oh, yeah,
Because I see
oh,
your vehicle.
yeah, there's trade-offs, but I think, experientially, you couldn't have brought somebody back to that. Well, she's been the village manager, she's been the deputy, manager in Pontiac for years.
That's nothing.
No, but, I mean, she has 40 years of resume of public service.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, yeah.
Do the same secretary.
At least you don't have to keep the notes.
Like that with a little microphone and then I go, you know, keep the power.
Yeah,
Here's another.
right, yeah.
People that suffer from,
All right, we'll see you.
Mr. Chair, again,
The wooden door off. Nice meeting you, Mr. Chair. Inside
still streaming, Carol.